ସାର୍ ଆମର ଅଫଲାଇନ୍ କ୍ଲାସ୍ କେବେ ହବ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲ?
मैम एक्चुअली मैं कल नहीं थी, सो आई वांटेड टू नो कि प्रैक्टिकल एग्जाम्स एंड वी हैव टू सबमिट आवर प्रैक्टिकल्स, द डेट्स अभी तक आए नहीं है, सो व्हेन द डेट्स विल बी रिलीज वी हैव टू सबमिट एंड गो फॉर द एग्जाम.
You will be informed about the dates. Don't worry
Okay.
about that. You contact the center. I'm sure you will get all the information.
Okay, ma'am. The study center or the regional center?
This Bhubaneswar center, I guess.
Okay, ma'am.
You all are students of this center, right?
The regional center is the Bhubaneswar center, but the study center is Cuttack, Revensa College.
Okay.
But the
Yes.
study center not responding anything about this topic. They are telling that RC will inform us, but till date there is no information about these things.
We'll find out. It's also written in your uh, book on page 11 that you will be informed about the dates for the
ମ୍ୟାମ୍
term examination. It will be provided to us.
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ଟିକେ ସାର୍ ପାଣିଗ୍ରାହୀ ସାର୍ଙ୍କୁ ଟିକେ ପଚାରିବେ କି ଆମର ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲ ଅଫଲାଇନ୍ କ୍ଲାସ୍ କେବେ ହବ?
Offline test?
କେବେ ହବ?
ଟେଷ୍ଟ ତ ହବ, ତମେ ମାନେ ଏଗୁଡ଼ା ସବୁ ଲେଖିଲା
ନା ନା ଅଫଲାଇନ୍ କ୍ଲାସ୍ କେବେ ହବ?
ଅଫଲାଇନ୍ କ୍ଲାସ୍ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲରୁ ଓକେ ପଚାରିବି। ଏଗୁଡ଼ା କିନ୍ତୁ ଅନଲାଇନ୍ ତୁମର ଯୋଉ ନଉଛି ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଅଲସୋ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲ ଅନଲାଇନ୍ କ୍ଲାସ୍।
ୟେସ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
Yes, ma'am. ଏଇଟା ତ ମାନେ ଆଗରୁ ବି ମାନେ ଏବେ କୋଭିଡ ପରେ ତ ମାନେ ଅନଲାଇନ ହଉଛି ବୋଲି ମାନେ ଏଇ କ୍ଲାସ ଟାକୁ ହିଁ ଧରା ହଉଛି, କିନ୍ତୁ ଆଉ କିଛି ଅଲଗା ହବ କି ଡାଇରେକ୍ଟ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲ ଏକ୍ସାମ ଯୋଉ ମୁଁ ଦେଖୁଥିଲି ପ୍ରିଭିୟସ ଇୟର ର ଯୋଉ ନୋଟିଫିକେସନ ଆରସି ର ଇଏରେ ମାନେ ଭୁବନେଶ୍ୱର ସେଣ୍ଟରର ଯୋଉ ତ ସେମାନେ ତ ପର୍ଟିକୁଲାର ଡେଟ୍ ହିଁ ବାହାର କରୁଛନ୍ତି, ଯେମିତି କି ଜୁନ 2023 ର ଏକ୍ସାମ ହେଇଛି ଏବେ ନଭେମ୍ବରରେ,
ଆଚ୍ଛା
ସରି ଡିସେମ୍ବରରେ। ସେମିତି ଆମର କିଛି ଡେଟ୍ ହିଁ ଆସିଯିବ କି ସେଇଟା ହିଁ ପଚାରୁଛି।
ତୁମର ଏକ୍ସାମ ପାଇଁ କାହା ସାଙ୍ଗରେ କୋଅର୍ଡିନେଟ୍ କର ନା ତୁମକୁ ଡେଟ୍ ବାହାରିବ ବି?
ଡେଟ୍ ହିଁ ମାନେ ମୁଁ ଯେତିକି ଦେଖିଛି ଆରସି ର
But practical
ଇନଫର୍ମେସନ
exams,
ରହୁଛି ସେଇଠି ଡାଇରେକ୍ଟ ସେମାନେ ଡେଟ୍ ହିଁ ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି ନା।
ଡେଟ୍ ଆସିଯିବ ତାହେଲେ, ଡୋଣ୍ଟ ୱରି। ୟୁ ଜଷ୍ଟ ଫୋକସ୍ ଅନ୍ ୟୋର ଷ୍ଟଡିଜ୍ ଆଣ୍ଡ କମ୍ପ୍ଲିଟ୍ ଦ ଏକ୍ସାମ କୋର୍ସ।
ଓକେ ଓକେ ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
ଆଠଟା ଅଛି ତୁମର, ସୋ ଆଉଟ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ 5 ୟୁ ହାଭ୍ ଟୁ ରାଇଟ୍। ଆଠଟା ଯାକ theoretically ମନେ ରଖିବ, all the concepts are related to the practicals that you will be doing here.
ହଁ ମ୍ୟାମ୍, ସେଇ 8ଟାରୁ କୋଉ 5ଟା କରିବୁ ତ ଆପଣ ଜାଣି ହିଁ ଥିବେ କି ମାନେ କୋଉଟା ବହୁତ ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାଣ୍ଟ, ସେ 5ଟା ହିଁ ଲେଖିବୁ ତାହେଲେ ଆପଣ।
ଓକେ, ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାଣ୍ଟ ନାହିଁ, ଯୋଉଟା ତୁମର ୟୁଜ୍ରେ ବେଶୀ ଆସିବ
ହଁ ହଁ ସେଇଆ
ଲାଇଫରେ।
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ସେ
ଲାଇଫରେ
ଆଜ୍ଞା।
ବେଶୀ ୟୁଜ୍ କରିପାରିବ, ତାର ୱାଇଡର ଆପ୍ଲିକେସନ ଥିବ, ସେଇଟା
ହୁଁ
କରିବା ଆମେ। ଇଣ୍ଟେଲିଜେନ୍ସ ଫର ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ ସବୁବେଳେ ତୁମର ଜାଣିବା ଦରକାର କେତେବେଳେ କିଏ ଆସିଲା ପିଲା ତୁମ ପାଖକୁ ଆଇକ୍ୟୁ ଟେଷ୍ଟିଂ ପାଇଁ, ସ୍କୁଲରେ ଭଲ କରୁନି,
ଆଜ୍ଞା।
ପର୍ସନାଲିଟି ଟେଷ୍ଟ ଗୁଡ଼ା ଏଗୁଡ଼ା ବେସିକ୍ ତୁମର ଦିଆ ବି ହେଇଛି। କିପିଂ ଅଲ୍ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଇନ୍ ମାଇଣ୍ଡ, ଦିସ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଅ ଭେରି ଗୁଡ୍ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲ ବୁକ୍ ଅଲସୋ ୟୁ ହାଭ୍ ବିନ୍ ପ୍ରୋଭାଇଡେଡ୍ ୱିଥ୍। ସେଥିରେ ତୁମର ସବୁ ଅଛି, ଖାଲି ଏକ୍ସଟ୍ରା ଥିଓରିଜ୍ ନିଶ୍ଚୟ ପଢ଼ିବ, ଖାଲି ଏତିକି ପଢ଼ିବନି, ରିଲେଟେଡ୍ ଚାପ୍ଟର୍ସ ଗୁଡ଼ା ବି ପଢ଼ିବ। କ୍ଲିୟର? ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ କରିବା?
ଆଜ୍ଞା।
ଓକେ।
ୟେସ୍
and
ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
these classes are for the for January, जिन लोगों ने एग्जाम दे दिया है, not practical exams, the theory exams I have given in December, so the practical are not conducted yet, so these classes are for them also.
Yes.
You find out, I have no idea actually. ମୁଁ କାହିଁ କନଫ୍ୟୁଜ୍ ହେଇ କହିବି, ତୁମେ ଫାଇଣ୍ଡ ଆଉଟ୍ କରିଦିଅ ପ୍ଲିଜ୍
Okay, ma'am.
ଡେଟ୍, ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ ଡେଟ୍ ବିଷୟରେ, ବିକଜ ୟୁ ଆର୍ ଦ ୱାନ୍ସ ହୁ ୱିଲ୍ ବି ଗିଭିଂ ଦ ଏକ୍ସାମ୍। ସୋ ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ ଡେଟ୍ଟା ତୁମକୁ ନୋଟିଫାଇ କରାହେବ, ଆଇ ଏମ୍ ସିଓର। ତା ଆଗରୁ ତମେ ୟୁ ଡୁ ୟୋର ପୋର୍ସନ୍ସ ଅଫ୍ ୱାର୍କ, ପଢ଼ାପଢ଼ି କରିବ, ଲେଖା ଲେଖି ଏଗୁଡ଼ା ସାରି ଦେଇଥିବ, ତାର ଗୋଟେ ଜେରକ୍ସ କପି କରିକି ରଖିବ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲର, ସୋ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ୟୁ କ୍ୟାନ୍ ପ୍ରିପେୟାର ଆକର୍ଡିଂଲି ଆଣ୍ଡ ଆନ୍ସର ଇନ୍ ଦ ଭାଇଭା ବୁକ୍ସ। ଏଇ ସବୁ କାମ ତମେ ନିଜେ ରେଡି କରିକି ରହିଥିବ, ଯେବେ ଡେଟ୍ ଆସିବ କରିବ। exam.
Okay. Ma'am, so the practical will be written in the practical notebook or
Practicals will be written in a practical notebook, yes.
like means which notebook? It will be mentioned physics, biology because psychology का practical notebook तो आता नहीं है तो I
No,
meant
no,
to say like,
psychology का नहीं, one side white, one side stripe रहती है वो जोटा.
नहीं मतलब फिजिक्स का या बायोलॉजी का कौन सा मतलब जो मेंशन होता है लैबोरेटरी बुक्स जो होते हैं
Lab books जोटा.
यस
But here
एनी
you're not required to do any graph, so that you would have required the blank page, जो white page है. Normally we used to paste the graphical presentation of the results. Here you don't have to use the graph, so it's okay whatever type you are using, but it's
ओके
better to have this physics का ये जो
ओके
biology का भी चलेगा जो भी. Write on one side only. The right side will be used for writing. Let the left will be blank, white
Okay.
only. So that if you want to mention any the data table also, if at all it is required, you can mention the data on the left side. Depends on the test that you're writing. ଏଗୁଡ଼ା ସବୁ କୋଉ କାଳେ ଆମେ କରିଥିଲେ ସୋ ଏବେ କୋଉ ଟାଇପ୍ର ଏବେ କପି ଆସୁଛି ଆଇ ହାଭ୍ नो ଆଇଡିଆ ଆଇ ହାଭେଣ୍ଟ ସିନ୍ ଦ କପିଜ୍ ତାକୁ ଗୋଟେ ତାକୁ ବାଇଣ୍ଡିଂ କରିବାକୁ ବି ଥାଏ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲ ପେपर्स ନେଇକି କରିବାକୁ ଦେଖିଛ
ଆଜ୍ଞା ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ସେଇଟା ତ ନର୍ମାଲ ସବୁ ଆମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲ ଦଉଥିଲୁ ତ ବାଇଣ୍ଡିଂ ପାଇଁ ତ ଆସେ ନା ତା ଉପର କଭର
ହୁଁ
ଅରେଲ୍ସ ଆମେ ପେପର ବାଇଣ୍ଡର ଯୋଉ ଆସେ ସେଥିରେ ବି ଆମେ କରିପାରିବୁ ପେପର୍ସ ଗୁଡା ଆଣିକି ସେଥିରେ ବି ତ ବାଇଣ୍ଡ କରିହବ
ରାଇଟ୍ ସାମ୍ପଲ୍ ପାଇଁ ତମେ ଯଦି ଦେଖିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଛ ପ୍ରିଭିୟସ୍ ଷ୍ଟୁଡେଣ୍ଟସ୍ ମାନଙ୍କର ଯଦି ଆଭେଲେବଲ୍ ଅଛି ଦେଖିପାରିବ ଆଭେଲେବଲ୍ ଅଛି କି ଯଦି I have no idea. ମୁଁ ପଚାରିବି ନହେଲେ ଆମର ତ ଆହୁରି 3 ଦିନ ଅଛି ଆଜିକୁ ମିଶେଇକି ଆହୁରି 3 ଦିନର କ୍ଲାସ୍ ଅଛି
ଆଜ୍ଞା
we'll
ଆଜ୍ଞା
find out. Okay. Any doubts about yesterday's class? The variables we
No,
discussed.
no, ma'am. No.
Okay. Okay, we were discussing about controls in experiment also. What is a control? Control is normally used to refer to the comparison of results. You are going to arrange the conditions in such a way that the same type of behavior will occur. ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଆମେ controls use କରୁଛେ. So it is referred to as the practice of eliminating or holding constant. What you are going to hold constant? The effects of extraneous variables. Extraneous variables will be controlled so that you are getting the same kind of result each time you are repeating the test on the same person, because you are trying to see the relationship between dependent variable and independent variable. So if there is any extraneous variable, that has to be controlled. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So in the lab also, when you are going to do the test, you make sure that all the conditions are taken care of, extraneous conditions, so that it will have no extraneous variables, so that they will not influence the result. Okay. And we are going to start with a test that you will have to do also, Bhatia battery of performance test. Writing the practicals also we discussed yesterday. How to write the practicals in the book, discussion, conclusion, and
Yes, ma'am.
any doubts about that?
No.
No, ma'am.
Okay, very good. So, Bhatia battery of test performance. Normally, it is an intelligence test. Normally, what you do in intelligence, you have studied about intelligence in your theory class, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So in the exam also, when you are writing about the introduction, you will briefly introduce the concept intelligence, from where it is derived from, and how it is used, for what reasons it is important. So in our day-to-day life, we normally say somebody is very intelligent, or somebody doesn't have the required intelligence to deal with life. We have a loose way of saying that also. Dumb or idiot, but that has a long significance, very uh, important significance. And we are not saying that based on any kind of result. We are just saying that as a matter of fact. When you observe somebody is lacking common sense, we normally say, "अरे idiot टा के बुझी पारुनु, चाहे कोचे तो." But there is a way to intelligence testing also. So sometimes you say that the boy is brilliant or the girl is very brilliant. So what do you refer to when you are saying that? You are referring to their ability, intellectual ability, right? They perform well in mental ability test or in the academics. They do very good. So this can be quantified. The intelligence that we are talking about can be quantified. So it is a construct. We were discussing about concepts and constructs. So it is a construct. Quantifiable, that's a construct. So we are going to measure intelligence about a person's intelligence. We can administer the test and we can declare the value that they or the IQ score. The first person to develop intelligence, to define intelligence first. You are going to define intelligence when you are writing the test also, when you are doing the experiment in the
मैम
lab.
मैम मैम ଗୋଟେ
Huh?
ସାଉଣ୍ଡ ଆସୁଛି ଗୋଟେ ସାଉଣ୍ଡ ଆସୁଛି
Sound is
କାର ହଁ କାର ଗୋଟେ ମାଇକ୍ରୋଫୋନ ଟା ଅଫ୍ ହେଇଛି
no, it's okay.
ୟେସ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ବ୍ୟାକଗ୍ରାଉଣ୍ଡରୁ ସାଉଣ୍ଡ ଆସୁଥିଲା।
ଏଇଠି ଗୋଟେ କୋଉଠି ସାଇଡ୍ ରେ ସାଉଣ୍ଡ
ୟେସ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ଆପଣଙ୍କ ପଟେ ଆସୁଥିଲା।
ରାସ୍ତାରେ ଗୋଟେ ସାଉଣ୍ଡ.
hello ma'am, actually it is coming from the background.
Yes, I have no control on that. Hmm. So such extraneous variables should not influence our class. କଣ କରିବା? Let me check. Huh? ଦେଖିକି ଆସୁଛି ବନ୍ଦ ହବ କି
Yes.
ନାହିଁ. Give me a second, please.
ୟେସ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
I've sent a message to stop that. Let's see. Is it audible now?
ୟେସ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
Am I audible?
Yes ma'am, it's
ୟେସ୍
audible.
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ୟେସ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
Yes ma'am, it's fine.
So till it stops, we have to ignore the sound. Okay. So David Wessler has defined intelligence. It is defined as the aggregate or global capacity of the individual to act purposefully, to think rationally, and to deal effectively with the environment. Okay, and Alfred Binet and friends, who was a psychologist also from France, he devised a modern intelligence test because he believed that intelligent behavior would be manifested in mental activities like reasoning, imagination, insight, judgment, and adaptability. So, in all these activities, one's intelligence will be reflected. That was his proposition, Alfred Binet. You have studied about the G factor and S factors,
ୟେସ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
general factors and specific factors in intelligence. So specific
Yes, yes.
abilities like artistic ability or linguistic ability, mathematical ability, these are all referred to as specific factors. And the cognitive abilities like to think in abstraction, learning or dealing with new situation, these are general factors. Okay. So that is how intelligence has been defined by these psychologists. So we may define intelligence. We won't be able to remember the exact definition, but we should understand the concept or the construct that we are going to study and administer the test accordingly. So it is the ability to behave adaptively behave with the environment, because the environments of the individual will be changing in all his life. So if a person is intelligent enough, they will adapt very successfully to the environment. No matter what the changes are occurring in the environment, they will not lose their mind. Okay, and the ability to function successfully within a particular environment is also indicative of their intelligence. And then third is ability to learn new things quickly and to solve different kinds of problems is also an indicator of intelligence in a person. So, what is the origin and early developments? As I was talking about, reflecting on the historical background of the concept and how it developed and how it took shape in developing different test materials that you also have to write down in the practical. Okay, so the first attempt to develop intellectual ability test was made by Francis Galton in the 18th century. In 1884, to be exact, he was a naturalistic and a mathematician. So Galton administered a battery of tests. Battery of tests means one after the other, the test has to be completed on one single person. And then the variables were measured, like what is the head size, because it was believed that the bigger the size of the head, the more intelligent a person will be, which was not always true. But since they were attempting to study, so they measured the head size, reaction time, how much time they are taking to react to the situation or to react to the stimulus. Then visual acuity, auditory threshold, and memory for visual forms. What he did actually, he developed his battery of tests by doing a study on 9,000 or more than 9,000 visitors. Am I audible? Am I clearly audible? Or the
Yes,
sound
Yes,
is
ma'am.
ma'am.
okay? It was more than 9,000 visitors that came to the London exhibition. He did this. He did his study. That is how he developed. It is always the number of the sample which decides the usefulness of the test and how valid the test will be, because it is going to represent a very wide or a big group which will be representative of the sample. So that is how Galton developed his test. So he found no difference on intelligence between, and reaction time was also not related to the measure of intelligence, he found out. Then comes Cattell in the year 1860 to 1944. In his time, J.M. Cattell, he also made different studies and contributed to the measurement of individual differences when it comes to intelligence. Okay. When mental testing movement started with a test by Alfred Binet and Theophile Simon in the year 1905. Stanford and Binet test, there is a test called Stanford Binet test for intelligence also, it is there. The history of this test is actually the French government wanted Binet to develop or to discover an objective method to know the intellectual level of French school children. So the major concern was the identity of the children who were not able to get any benefits from the public school education. So they were asked to devise a scale which will select the children with intellectual disability, because that was reflecting on their school's reputation. So they wanted to find out the good students and the low ability students. That indicated the nature of the special instructions. So the special instructions were given after doing the study to focus on which kind of children. So to improve the diagnosis of severely retarded, the secondary objective was that actually, though they did the study to find out the intelligence of all school children, as the French government asked them to do, but they were actually trying to find out the retarded children, which was the secondary objective of the test that they were doing. So what they did actually, Stanford Binet, he thought that the major task is to focus on reasoning and problem solving abilities, because he was doing the study on the school children. He published the first test after doing the study in the year 1905 with the help of Simon. Then again, the revision of the test was done in 1908 and then in 1911. The test that they were using for measuring intelligence, that included mental age. Mental age is something which is not equal to the chronological age always. Sometimes it is equal to the chronological age. For example, a child may be 5 years old and the mental age as per the test could be on the mental age on the scale. It could be mental age will be different from the chronological age. So for example, if the child is 7 years and the mental age is also 7 years, then there is a calculation also, mental age divided by chronological age multiplied by 100. So in this case, when the age is the same, mental age and chronological age, the IQ score is said to be 100 in case of this child, which is average, which is the standard. So in his view, he said that a slow or dull child is like a normal child whose mental growth is retarded. The slow child will be performing on the level. He called them slow child because even if their actual age is more, their mental age will be low. The items are arranged in the scale with increasing difficulty levels. So initially the children will do well in this test, and when the increasing difficulty level comes, they will be the real score will be reflecting on their mental age. Clear? Any questions? Then in 1916, Louis Terman, he published the Stanford version of Binet's test. Stanford Binet test was developed. So he combined all that and he published the Stanford version of Binet's test, which was called Stanford Binet Intelligence Scale, or SBIS. Then this scale was adapted by the American school children, and the years were 1937. Then the revisions were done to the test. In 1960, the revision was done. Then 1972, again it was revised. 1986, and then recent was in 2003. Maybe there is another revision. We are not aware of it. Maybe because all the developments that happen abroad, we get to know a little late through the books. Okay. Terman used intelligence quotient. IQ score is represented as the intelligence of a person. So that is an index of intelligence. The term IQ from the German intelligence quotient was suggested by the German psychologist William Stern. He referred to IQ as an indicator of intelligence score or intelligence quotient. Intelligence quotient is expressed as a relation of mental age to the real age. As I was saying, there is a formula to calculate. IQ can be found out by dividing the mental age with chronological age, then multiplied by 100. Okay. Any questions? Okay.
No, ma'am.
Then tables were used actually. Now the formula to use it was very cumbersome. So tables were used to convert the raw scores on the test to standard scores. The raw scores that they were getting by using the formula, it was referred to as standard scores. Then they started expressing the IQ in those terms. So they used in 1986 version of the test, they started using percentiles to express the level of intelligence in a particular group. Standard score is normally referred to as the standard score of a group which has the same age. Then Terman use the following category ranges. I will show you the table also, or you can turn to this page number 13. So that has a table 1. Terman stand for beneath fourth revision classification, where there is classification and what the scores would be, deviation IQ is given here. Okay. Then the standard deviation that it talks about is a statistic that measures the dispersion of the data set. How it disperses, the data disperses on a data set relative to the mean. You know how to calculate the mean?
Yes, ma'am.
And then it is calculated as the square root of the square root of the variance. The standard deviation is calculated as the square root of variance by determining each data point's deviation relative to the mean. So the mean that is how the standard score is determined. How will you calculate the standard deviation then? First you have to find the mean, right? Then subtract the mean from each score. And then you have to square each deviation. Then add the square deviations. Then you have to divide by the number of scores. Then take the square root of the result from that. This is how you will calculate the standard deviation of the score. You are not supposed to do all that. That is how they used to do the calculations. So Terman's Stanford Binet fourth revision classification focused on that. So for them, genius or near genius people were having the IQ range 164 or more than that. And the IQ score of 148 to 164, that was referring to very superior intelligence. If the standard IQ score is, or the deviation IQ is 132 to 148, then it was superior intelligence, they called it. Similarly, 113 to 132, that was above average intelligence. 84 to 113, that was normal average intelligence. These are all written here in the table. Then borderline deficiency is 52 to 68 deviation. Below 52, they would call it definitely feeble-mindedness. So these scores were obtained by converting the raw scores. We were talking about the raw data table. So in a raw data table, we will be mentioning the raw scores, then you will convert them into standard scores. The raw scores are the actual scores that you will be getting on the test. Then you have to refer to the table of standard scores and convert them. Then Stanford Binet felt that it is heavily depending on the linguistic ability. Sometimes there are also people who cannot speak, but that doesn't mean that they are not intelligent, right? So in 1939, Wechsler developed a new test, Wechsler's Adult Intelligence Scale, WAIS. So the Wechsler's Adult Intelligence Scale comprised of a verbal scale and a performance scale. One was verbal scale, the other one was performance scale. The verbal scale in Wechsler's test was consisting of information, comprehension, understanding the information, arithmetic similarities, digit span, vocabulary, and letter number sequencing. Okay. Then the performance scale consisted of digit symbol, picture completion. These are the performances that they had to do on this performance scale. Block design, picture arrangement, matrix reasoning, then object assembly and symbol search. Then Wessler proposed different category ranges with a standard deviation of 15, by which they tried to explain the IQ scores. The IQ range that was given by Wetzler, where he referred to the IQ range 60 and below was defective, 60 to 75 was borderline, 70 to 85 was below average, 85 to 115. Have you seen the normal bell shaped curve? देखिए bell shaped
Yes,
curve
ma'am.
था
Yes,
intelligence
ma'am.
में? Okay,
Yes, ma'am. Normal
right,
probability curve.
NPC. Hmm? So that had the
Yes,
mid
ma'am.
portion actually was indicative of the average intelligence. So these points are also hovering around the same. Here it is average is 85 to 115. In that NPC curve we studied 90 to 110 was the average, right?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so it's more or less the same way of defining the IQ or reaching the IQ score of a person with a small deviation only from each other. And 145 or more than 145, very superior they described. If the intelligence score is more than 130 to 145, then it was superior intelligence. All these tests were individual tests of intelligence. To understand the intelligence and to get the score, these tests were administered on individual subjects. So they may be administered only one person at a time, but there is a group test also. The group ability has to be tested for school or for in the industrial setup. So the group test is also used for intelligence. And in school, scholastic assessment test is used, SAT. These are the application areas where this group test can be used. Group ability test will be for such purposes where they can administer to a large number of people, and when the single examiner is there they can go for group test. Paper pencil test is a group test because they have to write the paper pencil test, and the person doesn't have to go after each subject for the test administration. The tester or the examiner will just distribute the papers and give a general instruction. Then the pencils will be used by the participants and they will write the answers. Individual test will focus on global ability and they will assess a general trait by administering such questions or such tests, sorry. Okay. Apart from this individual and group test, there is a major classification for testing, which is verbal and non-verbal test. For verbal test, a person has to do the test by verbally answering. When somebody is not educated enough to understand the instructions that are written, so they will go for the verbal test where they will respond only by saying it loud the answer that they fit into the question. They think it's a fit answer, they will give it verbally. Or when people are with disability, somebody doesn't have the hands to write, or somebody is blind or partially sighted, they will go for verbal tests. Paper pencil test and performance test are also intelligence tests. Performance test will require some sort of activity like arranging the blocks. You must have done when you were kids the block building game, all that you have studied, we have played, right? Block building, then picture completion. The whole picture will be in small cubes or small parts and it will be jumbled up. Then you have to arrange the picture and the final picture will be produced. How much time somebody is taking. Have you seen that?
Ma'am, please
Yes, ma'am.
repeat.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, please repeat once.
if you have a younger sibling or you yourself have must have played all these games. These are also like stimulating your understanding and thinking ability. So accordingly, the games are also arranged like this. So there is a picture completion test. ସବୁ ଛୋଟ ଛୋଟ ପିସ୍ରେ ହେଇଯାଇଥିବ one full picture.
Ma'am,
You have to
puzzle, like a puzzle, no?
puzzles
मैम puzzle solving.
puzzle solving. So such cards are given, and that is said to stimulate the intelligence of a person. ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଛୋଟ ପିଲାଙ୍କର ସବୁ ଏମିତି ଗେମ୍ ଥାଏ, believing that it will stimulate their intelligence. Okay. Then Bhattia's battery of performance test you have to administer, and it was constructed by CM Bhatia in 1953. And this is culturally adapted because it was first used on Indian population. It is culturally adapted. Again, the tests that we are using actually, they are all culturally adapted. Otherwise, it will make no sense if it is used in a different culture. The words have different meanings in different cultures, right? Don't you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
So, for example, if we see white dress, we'll say a lady is wearing white dress. You will say maybe it's a widow. And in Western countries, if you see somebody in white dress, if it is depending on the circumstances, you will say this is the bride, right? So
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
color white has
Yes,
different
ma'am.
implications in different cultures. So this battery test or performance test is used on Indian population. It has 5 subtests. Test number 1 is course block design test. Second is Alexander pass along test. Test 3 is pattern drawing test. Test 4 is immediate memory. Then picture construction is the last one. Okay. And course block design test is the first test on Bhatia battery test. So this battery includes 10 designs. There are 17 designs there were 17 designs, and it has taken out 10 designs from that battery, and the time limit for first 5 designs is 2 minutes each. Then for the remaining 5, the time limit is 3 minutes each. And then the cards with a variety of colored designs are shown to the test taker or the participant, and you will be asking them to reproduce them using a set of colored blocks. When you are conducting these experiments also, again you go through the booklet. You may not remember everything, so go through the booklet and follow accordingly the instructions. Performance here is not based on just the accuracy of the drawing, but also on the examiner's observation, how you observe the behavior during the test, including the factors as attention level, self-criticism, and adaptive behavior. Like when they are taking the test, they will be self-loathing. ଏମିତି କରିଥିଲି ଏଇଥାନ୍ତା ଭୁଲ କରିଦେଲି ଆଉ ଥରେ କରେ ଟିକେ so they will be also recorded as observation of the examiner. Okay. And you will be focusing on self-help, communication, and social skills when you are measuring their block design test. Then the second is Alexander pass along test. This is the second test number 2 in this series. And all the designs of the original test are included in this battery. Whereas in the first test, out of 17, they have taken 10. In this, all the designs are taken. The first 4 designs have to be completed in 2 minutes. In the first test, the first 5 were given 2 minutes each, and in the second portion, the last 5 tests will be given 3 minutes each. So the solution of the first box is demonstrated to the participant. You will be providing the solution. Also, when they are doing it, they have to know whether it is correct or not after they complete it. The test will stop when the participant fails to perform correctly on 2 successive trials. After 2 successive trials, if they are not able to do it, you have to drop the test. Clear? ବୁଝିହଉଛି?
Okay, ma'am.
Then the next third test is pattern drawing test. In this test, there are 8 cards. Each card has a pattern, and the subject will be required to draw these patterns in one go without lifting the pencil. You must have played like this. ଖେଳାଖେଳି କଲା ବେଳେ କେବେ କରିଛ? Without lifting the pencil, you have to draw a pattern.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is
Yes, ma'am.
exactly like that only. The time for the first 4 cards is 2 minutes each, and for the rest of the 4 cards, it is 3 minutes each. The test will be stopped after 2 incorrect successive trials. After there are 2 incorrect tries, you will drop the test. Then the fourth test will be immediate memory test. And this immediate memory test has 2 parts. One is digit span forward and digit span backward. Okay. And the test, the participant is required to repeat the numbers the experimenter is saying. The number of digits is increased on every trial. So the test is continued till the participant repeats it successfully in the same order. This is digit span forward. And in the backward recall, the numbers are repeated in the backward position from the last to the first. Last to start correctly, that is why it is digit span backward. The first one will be easy because it will follow a rhythm, and you have a tendency to remember the words forward. So this recall is also continued till the participant successfully repeats the sequence. Till he continues to successfully remember all the words and recall all the words, then it will be stopped. Then the test number 5 is picture construction test. Any doubt? Yes?
Ma'am, I just wanted to ask, like, do you have any kind of a sample to show us this, like the scale or the activities which are given here?
No, actually, because I'm also sitting at home. This is online class, but I can give similar examples, like I said, the puzzle test that you have seen in your childhood, right? Otherwise, I have no test to show. I used to have the Wessler's waist, but it is in my clinic in Cuttack actually. So I cannot show you that. I'll get that maybe someday. I have Wessler's intelligence scale, but not here. You can imagine when I'm saying the test.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you imagine, like, for example, if you are saying digit backwards, digit span backward or forward, you will make a list of numbers, there will be a list of numbers, then you just have to reproduce as the examiner is telling you. Till you recall everything successfully, then it will be stopped. Then they will count actually in how many trials you are completing each task. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Then picture construction test. In this test, the subject is required to construct a picture that is given in parts. This is easy to imagine also, because the parts will be meaningfully combined to construct a whole picture. When you are covering the blank areas with the parts given, then it will give a meaningful picture also with the full picture completed. The time limit will be for 2 minutes for the first 2 pictures, and the rest 3 pictures, it is 3 minutes.
Ma'am, why there is a difference in time limits?
Initially, you are getting used to the test, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So 2 minutes easy items will be given.
Yeah, yeah.
So once you are comfortable with that, the difficulty level will be a little different, and 3 minutes will be given.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. An individual administration of this test will be less than 1 hour. Maximum 95 marks can be obtained in the complete test, in the whole battery test, battery, battery test. Maximum 95 marks can be obtained after you complete the test. Maximum mark for the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth test will be 25, 20, 20, 15, and 15 respectively. So first test will have full marks. The total marks will be 25. The second one will be 20. The third one will be 20. Then the last two, fourth and fifth, will be having 15 marks each respectively. They will be, you know, giving the total of 95 marks. So basically, this test is used for illiterate people or those who are not very educated. To test the intelligence of children, also, it is used who are very small and cannot understand any difficult language. Hmm. These are all in picture form or in blocks. Okay. So normally the test has to be given to boys of 11 to 16 years. Then it was only saying to boys only. Later, the norm for girls also was obtained. Okay. Then personality test. Any doubts about this Bhatia battery test? One is a verbal test, one is a performance test. Any doubts about that? Verbally, you are reproducing the digits forward and backward. Then also you have picture completion test, which requires you to perform in the test. Clear?
Yes,
Clear.
ma'am.
Okay. Then comes personality assessment test. So, what is personality? You all know, right? And there are many theories of personality. There are many ways of measuring somebody's personality. So, personality assessment refers to how we estimate the personality makeup depending on the person's characteristic behavior patterns and the silent features or the stable characteristics. You have studied about the G factors and S factors. Somebody was saying yesterday the big five personality test they have done.
Yes, ma'am.
Extraversion, introversion, all that five factors that are given. Big five.
Ocean, 5 sector.
Yes. You
Ocean.
have done the test.
No, ma'am. Only we
You have
read that one for exams.
okay. Okay. So the in personality assessment test, you estimating the personality of a person depending on the person's characteristic behavior pattern, and normally you say that person is very feeble minded. That is based on your observation, right? Or somebody is very emotional. वो तो बड़ा इमोशनल होता है हर बात पे. So you are referring to something which you have seen in that person, right? So as there are different theoretical accounts of personality also, this is not any random way of saying personality about a person's personality. There you are going to depend on a account of personality by administering the personality assessment test. Okay, the method of estimating or measuring the person's personality varies according to the theory of personality you are going to use for developing those methods of testing. Okay, that is how you have studied about Big Five, 16 PF also, or the general factors and specific factors. You are referring to these factors which constitute a person's personality. Okay. But when you are doing the personality assessment, you are not being tied to the same one theoretical viewpoint only. Rather, you are preferring to take the combined view of personality. There is an eclectic approach as you have studied in therapy or counseling. Here also, when you are talking about a person's personality, you are rather depending on the eclectic view of personality. Eclectic view is the method of choosing the parts of different theories that seem to have a particular situation specific behavior. Okay, so instead of using only one theory, they explain a general phenomena when they are referring to the personality. Okay, clear? And
Yes, ma'am.
it is it is normally important to remember that personality assessment is also different. It can differ with respect to the purpose for which it is done. For example, if you are trying to understand yourself, then the person will select different tests or inventories. If the purpose is to classify the person as per the personality traits, a different set of tests will be useful. There are many ways of defining personality, and there are many theories of personality also. If you remember, introverts, extroverts, you all remember the theoretical classes that you have taken or you have
Yes,
Type A,
studied.
ma'am.
type A, type B.
Yes, there are different ways of defining personality. So, what you are trying to find out, depending on that, even on the internet, also you will find certain online tests. Find out if you are introvert or extrovert. Then they will be asking you different questions, and finally the result will be there. Have you gone through such testing methods? They are also using the same method. It is not about a person's full personality, but many aspects of the personality can be studied by using different methods of measuring it. Okay. So, personality testing is an essential prerequisite for identifying the different constituents of personality. Testing personality will provide you with the emotional and motivational traits of personality also. That is how, if it is done to motivate somebody, also, you have to take the person's personality type. Normally, if somebody is motivated internally, I mean, if you remember the motivation theories, sometimes they don't need any encouragement because they are doing the good work for their own um, satisfaction. So internal motivation is very important, and it is field independent. There are field independent factors also, if you remember, right? So it doesn't depend on financial benefits or incentives. The person will do good work because they enjoy doing it. So for motivational traits or personality, you will be also focusing on these different types of tests. Clear? Then
Yes,
there are
ma'am.
different tests. So accordingly, there are different types of personality assessment tests. They can be categorized into three categories. So one is subjective, the other one is objective, and projective methods. Projective methods, I was telling you about Rorschach and TAT yesterday.
Yes, ma'am.
Remember?
Projective method.
Yes, and there are also subjective and objective methods of testing the personality. The subjective approach will incorporate the assessment of somebody's personality by taking into account what they have done throughout their life. It will consider their autobiographical accounts and biographies also. But there is a major limitation to that the person may exaggerate the strengths. Normally, we have this way of highlighting on our strengths, and our drawbacks are not reflected properly when we are talking about that. ଆମକୁ ଯଦି ପଚାରିବ କି ତମର ଭଲ ଗୁଣ ତମେ ବେଶୀ ଗୁଡ଼ା ଗାଇଯିବ ନୁହେଁ କି? Normally, that is a tendency of every individual, and they will minimize the limitations or bad qualities, for example. You see. So to take care of all that, so that the socially desirable characteristics are not always highlighted, and they are also true representation of the minimal what do you call it, the strengths of their personality also they will be referring to very honestly. So accordingly the test is devised. In personality assessment, the effort is to make the assessment free from any bias. Subjective participant, the subject's bias also, the your if you are taking somebody, your friend is taken for the personality test, even if you found the participant a little low on any particular parameter, you will not reflect on that. Maybe you will try to manipulate the score. So to avoid all that, we are saying talking about the conditions in the experiment. When you are taking care of the variables, the result will be perfect. Okay. Objectively, we can understand the person's personality when you are using the test or inventory by carefully choosing them, depending on what you are trying to measure. ठीक ଅଛି?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Then personality inventory is, how does it look like? It is printed in a form that will be having a set of statements or questions which refer to the human behavior. And the list of questions are standardized, and the specific answers required are only yes or no, and there is one option cannot decide, cannot say. So they have to answer in this sequence, uh, yes, no, or cannot decide. As the questions demand close ended answers, there are two ways of answering the questions. Open ended questions, normally, when it is open ended, they can give statements like in sentences or paragraphs. But here, these are all close ended, where there is no other option which can be taken for an answer. Either they have to say yes, or they can say no, or they will say I cannot say. Okay, so these are quite objective in nature. 16PF, cattle 16PF that you have in your course also is one such personality inventory. Neo-PI by Costa and Macri. This is normally used in management situations. In your organizational behavior, you have studied about this maybe. They devised five-factor model of personality traits, then Myers and Briggs type indicator, MBTI. That is also a very commonly used inventory for
Yes, yes,
personality.
ma'am.
ওবিরে পড়েছো তো?
Aage, aage, aage.
16PF. 16PF. There are different theories that are developed to understand the concept personality. So these theories are also based on different models of human behavior. There are different types of personality. So accordingly, there are different traits individuals may possess. Accordingly, we have the type approach and trait approach. Psychologists normally distinguish between the type and trait approach to personality, and type approach is normally used to understand human personality by examining certain broad patterns which is characteristic of the individual, and each behavior pattern is referred to one type. So in the behavior pattern that you are observing, actually individuals will be placed in terms of the similarity of their behavioral characteristics that is going with the pattern. And in trait approach, it refers to the specific psychological attributes that the individual has, along with the tendency to differ in consistent and stable ways. Even if they are showing the traits in a particular situation, they also differ in consistently and in stable ways. It is not erratic. Okay, so that is the trait approach. There, when we talk about personality specifically, there are many attempts to understand personality and also to define it differently. During the Greek physician time, Hippocrates, he proposed a typology based on the fluid, body fluid. Remember those classifications? Phlegmatic, melancholic, and choleric. Manoj?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Ayurveda also classifies people into different categories.
Vata, Pitta type. Vata,
Yes,
Pitta.
and kapha. That depends on the three basic humoral elements called tridosh. There is another typology of personality based on gunas, sattva, rajasic, and tamasic. Sattvic,
Yes,
rajasic, and
ma'am.
tamasic. These are different ways of defining the personality. So the attempts by different psychologists also started to understand personality on the basis of types and on the basis of traits also that they possess. That is how we came across these factors. There are peripheral characteristics, then there are central characteristics to a person. All that talks about personality. To what degree these characteristics are present, accordingly a person will be defined when we are saying gunas. So depending on the percentage of presence, the presence of percentage in a person will lead to a particular type of behavior. So based on that, they define the personality when they talk about in prior early times. I'm referring to the history of personality defining. Then Sheldon used the body build and temperament as the main basis of defining personality. He talked about endomorphic, mesomorphic, and ectomorphic. Endomorphic people will be fat, round, soft, relaxed, and sociable. Mesomorphic, strong body build will be there. Ectomorphic will be thin, long, and fragile body building. So accordingly, the personality type will be classified. Then Jung proposed the typology based on grouping people into introverts and extroverts. Then Friedman and Rosenman have classified individuals into type A and type B personality. You have
Yes,
done
ma'am.
this in the theoretical classes, right?
Yes, 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 ma'am.
Then type A personality seems to possess high motivation. They lack patience, they are very impatient, they feel short of time. Normally, type A personality related disorders are also there, which causes lifetime diseases also. They're sometimes referred to as this is a typical type A disorder. Ty- And they are always in a great hurry. So stress semanokora besi हुए. Type A personality, they possess high motivation, lack of patience. They always feel that time is running out and they are always in a hurry. They are prone to develop coronary heart disease and hypertension. Then, when the absence of such traits are observed, the person will be referred to as type B personality. In addition to this type A and type B, Morris is another researcher or psychologist, you can see, who suggested a type C personality, which is prone to cancer. Type D personality is also there, which is characterized by proneness to depression. Trait theories are mainly concerned with the description of characteristic of basic components of personality. These are all traits they are referring to. They are interested in understanding personality as the building block of a person. Okay. And human beings always display a wide range of variations in connection with the psychological attributes. Even if that is observed, it is possible to club them into smaller number of personality traits. As I was saying, there is a factor analysis which you can done, which can be done. Okay. A trait is considered as normally when you are referring to the type approach on or trait approach, normally a trait is, what is a trait? It is a attribute or quality where an individual will be different from another individual. It is relatively enduring. They include a range of possible behavior, normally which is according to the demands of the situation. Trait approach has been used by many theorists like Alport, Eysenck, and Cattell. Okay. Now we will go to the test for using personality test. You have 16 PF in your course. So 16 PF is, PF stands for personality factor. It was constructed by British psychologist Raymond D. Cattell. Any questions or any doubts you have?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Cattell described uh, this as a common structure to which people differ from each other. The 16 factors. The structure could be determined empirically. Empirically means scientifically, by doing the testing. So there are 16 factors which are zeroed in to understand the personality of a person with the help of statistical techniques called factor analysis. As I was saying, he discovered the common structures. He found 16 primary or source traits. The source traits are stable and are considered as the building blocks of a person's personality. Besides these 16 factors, there are also a number of surface traits that result out of the interaction of source traits. So these are basically stable traits that he studied in the testing. He found the 16 factors by doing a factor analysis of all the factors that he found out. The 16 are said to be primary or the source trait. Then there are also secondary traits he found out, which is generally an interaction of the source traits. So Cattell has described the source traits in terms of opposing tendencies. Cattell developed 16 personality factor questionnaire based on, by using this factor analysis. I hope you are understanding and relating to the statistics also you have studied. କାହିଁକି ତାକୁ 16 factors distribute କଲେ instead of taking 100 factors? It is useless because each is replicating the other. They found that when you are talking about verbal ability, for example, so sentence construction, paragraph writing, all that will be testing the same. Verbal or non-verbal ability they are testing. So if they are using similar kind of tests which can be used only by one test, then that factor was zeroed into one. They use that as one factor only. So that is how he reduced the number of factors and zeroed in on 16 factors. He describes the source traits are normally opposing tendencies. There are 16 personality factors in his questionnaire. I'll try it, or you can refer to the book again. It was first published in the year 1949. Then revision was done in 1956 and 1962. There are 5 alternative forms of the 4th edition also that were released between 1967 and 1969. In 1993, the 5th edition of 16 PF was released. So basically, the factors are the same, only revision was done, and they included more number of traits. Okay. All these 16 factors are actually the source traits. Cattell's theory also says that each person has a degree of each of the following 16 traits. That is why he used the term factors. For each trait, factor label or code letters are used. For each trait again, factor level or code letters are used, the major source traits will be represented on the 16 personality factor inventory. I'll show how that is done. There are 185 multiple choice items. The participant has to select one option. There is no right or wrong answer in this 16PF because it is not about branding them as a right person or wrong person. Rather, we are trying to understand what kind of personality category they belong to. Okay, and the participant has to select one option from each of these multiple choice items. There is no right and wrong way of giving answers. On an average, it normally takes 35 to 50 minutes to complete the test. So when you are doing your study or in the exam also, you refer to the time limit. Somebody cannot take 1.5 hours and you will be losing your time. Okay. So the factors he has talked about is A, B, C, E, F. That is how it is given, and A is as they are taken as factors. A is for outgoing, reserved. There are two extremes actually. If you see, you all have the book with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
You can refer to the table then that is given here instead of me reading out all that. You can see how A is referring to outgoing and reserved, B is reasoning, C is dominant and submissive. The two extremes are taken actually. Stable and emotional, sober, happy go lucky, that is factor F. Venturesome and shy is I. Are you referring to the table?
Yes, ma'am.
So that is how you will be doing the test also. By administering the test, they will be answering to that. It's a paper pencil test and it has 185 multiple choice items. They have to select only one option. There is no right and wrong answer, as I was telling you. And again, the time limit is 35 to 50 minutes. Okay. Then comes Vinland's maturity scale. Maturity is your competence level, isn't it? In social psychology, you must have studied about social competence. Social maturity scale is dealing with the learning to properly relate to acquaintances, friends, and intimate relationships. Here also, if you have any problem in relating to your friends or you cannot maintain friendship or acquaintances you don't like, so that will be reflecting on your social maturity. So this is how the social maturity scale will be used to deal with the person's maturity level in a social situation. It also involves understanding how to respect those in authority, civil in civil cases or in civil situations, parental relationships, and relationship with the employer, or also if you are referring to the spiritual level of maturity, how to respect others' religion and how to behave in a situation which requires you to behave in a particular manner. You are going to the temple and you cannot just do the opposite what others are doing. So you behave socially that is called socially desirable behavior. You have to show that socially desirable behavior in social situations which will refer to your social maturity. Okay. So it refers
Yes,
to
ma'am.
the life skills that a person will have for various situations. In different situations, you are required to hear, for example, in the online class, here you are free to sit in any way or sleep on the bed and listen to the class. But when you are going for offline classes, you are expected to be seated in a particular manner, right? So you are responding to a social situation as people would expect you to behave. That shows your social maturity. Similarly, the World Health Organization defines life skills as the ability for adaptive and positive behavior that enables individuals to deal effectively with the demands and challenges of everyday life. This is the quotation, within quotes, it has been given. So it is the WHO's definition of life skill. Life skill is same as the social skill, because in life, when you are not able to adapt properly, then your social ability will go for a toss, and you will have problems, and you cannot be happy. Okay. So in primary and secondary education also, life skills may refer to a skill set that accommodates more specific needs. These skills are basic requirement for a happy life. So we are referring to the life skills as very important to adapt to new situations and to known social situations also, which will show our social maturity level. Okay, to measure that also we have this Vinland maturity scale. Normally this scale is administered on adolescents and children. They are checked for these skills for their better future in their personal and professional life. Normally, you are not going to administer the test on each and every child that you come across in a school. If you are a school counselor, you will be brought only, the children will be brought to the counselor to do this maturity skill testing if they have any complaint against their behavior in different social situations. That is how it will be helpful to, how will you know how to train them to show the perfect behavior. This maturity scale will tell you actually what is their understanding level of the social situation, and whether they are socially matured or they need to be matured more, and their mental age is not indicative of their understanding of the or IQ test will also can be done, so that you can understand their IQ. Then you will understand, okay, then because of the low IQ they are not able to adjust properly to the social situation. Then you can go for this social maturity scale also. Okay. Clear? So about the test, if you have any question you can ask me as we are going through this test quickly. This test, Vinland Social Maturity Scale, was developed by the American psychologist Edgar Arnold Doll in the year 1953. It measures communication skills, general self-help ability, locomotion skills, occupation skills, self-direction, self-help eating, self-help dressing, socialization skills. Since it is done on young children also, if they are able to eat on their own or they are being fed by their mothers or parents, if they are capable of handling their own school dressings, wearing their dresses, uniforms, or their parents are helping. In a case that I was handling, actually, the child was 16 years old and the mother was helping the child to do everything. He was not capable of wearing the uniform also. So in such a case, there is some problem which was not addressed because they were not disclosing what the child was doing. Since the child was good in studies, the mother used to allow the child to study even if she is busy making him wear the dress. यूनिफॉर्म सब पिंधेब गोड़ जोता पिंधेब कहीं पिला पाठ पढ़ुची. So definitely that is a big no. Okay, so this is a test of self-direction, self-help eating, self-help dressing, socialization skills, and locomotion skills, occupational skills, all that is included. The test is administered during an interview of the child with a parent or other person who is important in the person who is being assessed. In the child, I mean. Okay? Child or adolescent. It measures social competence, self-help skills, and adaptive behavior. Normally, the age group that is chosen to administer this test is infancy to 18 years. Okay. So it is used in planning when you are taking a subject to the center for your exam day. If you are going to do the test, even if your subject is more than 18 years, you will have to say that this test is for infancy to 18 years only. And in your case, due to lack of the availability of a subject, you are choosing this a little older child. Okay. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Bored? Are you all getting bored with the similar type of testing only? We are talking about for the last 1.5 hours.
No, ma'am.
Okay. You just have to know about the test, and when you conduct, it will be self-explanatory. Why you are doing this, you all know. So you just have to conduct and write the test. It was developed by Edgar Arnold Dole, and the test is administered during an interview of the child. Normally, a parent is also taken into the testing. It is used in planning for therapy or individualized instruction for persons intellectual disability or emotional disorder. Okay, that is why a parent or a caretaker who is more important in the child's life is included in the sessions, because it is normally to handle emotional disorders or intellectual disability, because they have done something wrong, or their way of responding to social situations is not very desirable as per the age, or they are not showing age appropriate behavior. This is normally done to assess what kind of maturity they have. For that, the parents are taken into consideration so that they can bring out the same changes. For example, the case that I was telling you, the mother was actually scolded by me. I said, if you don't allow the child, he will not learn the basic skill of wearing dresses. And the main fault lies with the mother. There was nothing wrong with the child. Then the child was also not very capable of wearing, tying the shoelaces. So it reveals actually how they are raised in the Vinland scale. This is used from birth to age 18. There are 89 items for interview with the parent or the primary caregiver who is handling the child more for more time. Then there are personal and social skills that need to be evaluated on the areas like daily living skills, general self help, eating and dressing, communication, whether they can listen, speak, and write, motor skills like fine motor activities, gross motor activities, including locomotion, socialization, interpersonal relationships, play and leisure, and coping skills. Then there are occupational skills also for self direction. You have to measure all that. It is measuring all these things. The test is untimed and it is not requiring you to fix the time. Normally, it takes 20 to 30 minutes. The raw scores will be converted to an age equivalent score, as that is the social age of the child. And a SQ will be found out, social quotient. As there is IQ in intelligence quotient, there will be also social intelligence quotient. Okay. So the formula for finding the SQ or social quotient is social age divided by chronological age, and or the actual age. Chronological age is the actual age of the child, and multiplied by 100. SQ is the social quotient that they will be referring to as the finding of the test. The test was adapted in Indian conditions by A.J. Malin. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
There is one more family pathology scale. We'll do this today or later on. How many scales are left? We covered 3 today.
Later on, ma'am.
I'm the one
Tomorrow.
who is okay. I'm the one who is doing the talking, but you people are getting tired. That's fine. Too
No,
much of
ma'am.
information on one day, if it is not retained also, it's not good. It's not going to do any good to us. So rest of the test we'll discuss on our next classes. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Tomorrow.
Okay,
Tomorrow.
ma'am, tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Tomorrow,
Uh,
how many tests
five
are
more
left?
tests.
Five
Yes.
more, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Okay, okay, good. Okay. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, the same thing which I'd asked, like, ma'am, the same thing which I had asked, like, if you could share some of the samples of the questionnaires, then probably it's easy for us to understand from the
Oh,
theory.
you can download the question.
There is in
I was
YouTube also. There is some videos about it.
YouTube, I don't know, but with the journal actually, it will be attached. Let me find out. I'll send you. Okay,
You can
Okay,
share
ma'am. Thank you
with
so
us,
much.
ma'am.
one second. Then it got lost. Actually, since I don't have anyone's number, I didn't save it also. Otherwise, I could have said it to somebody to.
Ma'am, you can give the number. We can just put a hello.
Okay, my number is 993
Yes, ma'am.
71 69674. These are all available on the internet. 16 PF is definitely there.
Ma'am, can you say please again your number?
99371 69674.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'll try to send you whatever I get.
Okay, ma'am.
The sample also will do, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. You must see how a test looks like before you actually do the test on
Ma'am,
somebody.
number.
Sorry?
Repeat the phone number.
It's 99371 69674.
Thank you, ma'am.
Then you share with each other. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions? Any
No, ma'am.
doubts?
No. We will go through today about that practicals. Then, if there is any question arise, then we will ask tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, go through that. I will try to send it today itself. After I complete the class,
Okay,
I'll
okay,
try
ma'am.
to. Okay. Let me just find out. I had traced two of those tests. So if it is available, I will just send you. Go through the booklet, and if you have any doubts, you can ask me. We still have so much time. Okay. Just check. I've sent the 16 PF questionnaire to one of the students.
Yes, ma'am. Received, ma'am. I'm sending it to all.
Okay.
Thank
Yes,
you so much.
yes. In that group.
Yeah, yeah. I'll send it in the group. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
I don't know if it is the same or it is a different version. I'll check.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Just go through the questions and let me know. I'll check. Any questions you can ask me?
Ma'am, can you say something more about traits?
Traits? Traits of personality? Is it okay if I give you some homework?
Yes,
Sure,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. You just you find books interesting or not interesting. You have the phone in your hand all the time. So I would suggest personality traits in psychology. Just these are the key words. Just go through that. Hmm. It will give you a broader idea about what traits are. Hmm. When you visually see something and read, you remember more, isn't it? Visual
Yes.
memory is very helpful. That is why I'm asking you to read. Traits are basically the traits define a person. One aspect of trait, for example, agreeableness. You agree how or
Ma'am,
how
it
modern
is ma'am, it is written characteristics.
characteristics
Yes, ma'am. Traits
we
means
have.
characteristics.
Yes. So characteristics you refer to as important. I'll send you the PDF for this also. But before that, you must use the Google for better things. Hmm.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'll send you the PDF files which are more authentic, and in academics actually we don't refer to Wikipedia and all. Never refer to Wikipedia. Refer to the
Okay.
books or normally refer to the journal articles or books. Never Wikipedia. Wikipedia will give you the right answers, but academicians don't use. That is a
Yes, ma'am.
major mistake. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
because it gives you everything in such a uh, closed way, you will lose the interest of studying actually the interesting things. ନୁହେଁ କି ସବୁ ଜିନିଷ ଏକା ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ପ୍ରିସାଇଜଲି ଦେଇ ଦଉଛି, so you would think this is all that I need to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Vanilla maturity test I'll send you. It's a big file, so I don't know how to send it. Okay. Refer to this for understanding secondary and primary traits. Since you asked the question, ignore the first one. This is by Cattle. The did you get the file?
madam 16 PF question data 200 question.
এইটা পঠিয়ে নেবে এটা
Yes,
দেখো
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Received.
হ্যাঁ।
Thank you so much.
madam 16 PF question data no 200 question.
সেটা কেতে ଅଛି ମୁଁ ଦେଖିନି, just found the PDF I sent you, but the second one is very looks nice, and this is by Cattle also.
2016 P.
Hmm. So this paper is more important, I think. You delete the
This one is the description of the 16 PF test.
yes,
Total description.
so you can prepare. Yes, the primary factors, how the mm, factor analysis was done, the second order, second order, all that is given here. Delete the first file, actually that will confuse you. This is good one.
Ma'am.
So here what you will do, you will refer to the literature that is given here. Don't go through the table. If it confuses you, just study that basic features of the 16 PF. that will also tell you about the test. Sample I will send you, don't worry. This is not the real 16 PF, I think.
Ma'am,
Huh?
can you suggest some website to read all these articles and journals from?
I'm using this actually to get the PDFs which are more authentic to refer in academic studies. I'll find out and I'll send you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am, that will be
it
great.
will be.
Vinyl and maturity scale ଟା ତ ମୁଁ ବାହାର କରିକି ପଢୁଥିଲି ସେଟା କୁଆଡେ ହଜି ଯାଇଛି ମୋର ହିଷ୍ଟ୍ରିରେ ବି ନାହିଁ but I'll send you.
Okay, ma'am.
Any questions or any suggestions you have?
And the first questionnaire, which consists of 200 questions actually, like how do we go about doing the interpretation part of it?
ତାର କି ଦେଇନି ସେଥିରେ
No, ma'am. Ki deni.
ତାହେଲେ ତାକୁ ଇଗ୍ନୋର କର I'll try to find out the proper ones since there is no time ମୁଁ ଜଲ୍ଦି ଜଲ୍ଦି ତାକୁ ଖୋଲିକି ଦେଖିଦେଲି ପଠେଇଦେଲି I'll send you with the key.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Vinland social maturity scale has 8 areas actually 8 areas ଏଥିରେ self help जो ଅଛି eating dressing ସବୁ self direction occupation communication locomotion and socialization there are 8 areas it measures. So accordingly the questions will be there ମୁଁ ପଠେଇବି ମତେ ଖାଲି ମନେ ପକେଇଦେବ I'll send you. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Sure.
Okay, ma'am.
Anyway ତମମାନଙ୍କୁ ତ ଡିପାର୍ଟମେଣ୍ଟ ସରି ସେଣ୍ଟରକୁ ଯିବାକୁ ପଡିବ to conduct this studies ନୁହେଁ କି?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So you will definitely go through all the tests.
ହଁ ବାକି ସେଇଠିକୁ ଗଲା ପରେ ହିଁ ଜଣା ପଡିବ ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ତାର ଡେଟ୍ ସବୁ ଆସିଲା ପରେ ହିଁ
ହଁ କାହିଁ ତା ଆଗରୁ ଲାଗି ଲେଖିବନି
ସେ ତ ଲେଖିବୁ ମ୍ୟାମ୍ କିନ୍ତୁ ପୁରା ମାନେ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲି ଦେଖିବା ଅଲଗା ଯାହାହେଲେ ବି
This is a review paper I got hold of. I'm sending you this.
ମ୍ୟାଡାମ ସେଠି କେତେ ଦିନ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲ କରିବାକୁ ପଡେ?
ମୁଁ ଜାଣିନି କେତେ ଦିନ ଚାଲିବ ଯେତେ ଜଲ୍ଦି ସାରିବ ବୋଧେ ଦିନକୁ ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଟେ ଲେଖା କରିବ ଆଉ କେତେଟା କରିପାରିବ ଦିନକୁ ବେଶୀ
Ma'am, they
ସେମ୍
told 8 days. 8 days.
ହଁ ସେମ୍ ସବଜେକ୍ଟ ଉପରେ ତ ଲାଗ ଲାଗ କରିବନି ସେ ବୋର ହେଇଯିବ ନୁହେଁ କି ଆଉ ତମେ ତ ଇଚ୍ ଅଦର ଉପରେ ବି କରିପାରିବନି ଇଚ୍ ଅଦର ଉପରେ ସିନା ତମର କ୍ଲାସ ପାଇଁ କରିପାରିବ କିନ୍ତୁ ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ଫେର ଦେଖିବା ପାଇଁ ତମେ ଜାଣିବାକୁ ଚାହିଁବନି ଖାଲି ଥରେ ମ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡେଟୋରି ବୋଲି କରିକି ରଖିଦେବ ଯଦି ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି କରିବାକୁ ଚାହିଁବ ନୂଆ ନୂଆ ପିଲା ନେଇକି ଯାଇକି ତମେ ଟେଷ୍ଟ କରିପାରିବ so that you become a pro. ଟ୍ୱେଣ୍ଟି ର ଗୋଟେ ପେପର ଏଇଟା ରିସେଣ୍ଟ ପେପରଟେ ଗୋଟେ don't go through only go through the introduction ଏଥିରେ ଏବେ ତ ସୋସିଆଲ ମ୍ୟାଚୁରିଟି ସ୍କେଲଟା ପଠେଇଲି ପର୍ପୋଜ ମେନ୍ ୟୁଜେସ୍ ଏଗୁଡ଼ା ସବୁ ଏଇଥିରୁ ପଡ଼ିବ ଆଉ ବାକି କିଛି ଡିସଅର୍ଡର ଗୁଡ଼ା ଉପରେ ଲେଖା ହେଇଛି କିଛି ପଢ଼ିବା ଦରକାର ନାହିଁ
ଓକେ ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
ଠିକ୍ ଅଛି ଇଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଡକ୍ସନଟା ଭଲ ଦେଇଛି ସେଥିପାଇଁ ପଠେଇଲି ଆଉ ବାକି ତକ ତୁମକୁ କ୍ଲାସ୍ ଆଗରୁ କାଲି ପଠେଇ ଦେଇଥିବେ
Sure, ma'am.
That's all for today.
ୟେସ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
Time ହେଇନି ସାରିଦବା କ୍ଲାସ୍
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
See you tomorrow then.
Thank you,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Bye, ma'am.
Namaste.
Bye.